The Premier League is set to begin this weekend, and there are a whole host of fixtures, and I'm going to give you my predictions on each of them. Welcome to the Footy Network. Afternoon guys, and welcome to the Footy Network, where we're going to run through chronologically all the games of the weekend and give you my predictions on them. Don't forget as well, if you're new here, hit that like button and subscribe to the Footy Network and get your predictions in down below. Which game this weekend do you think will cause the biggest upset? So we're going to kick it off with Manchester United versus Fulham. Now, Manchester United for me, with that manager, that fraud that is Ten Hag, they are not going to have a good season this year. And honestly, I can see him going quite soon. Hopefully Southgate comes in. Manchester United fans, how would you feel about that one? And on the opposite side of the fence, you've got Marco Silva, who I highly rate. I think he's one of the most underrated managers in the Premier League. However, Fulham have lost a key player in Paulinho, but they have brought in a decent player, I think, in Smith Rowe from Arsenal. And this is an opening game. And Man U, I remember them struggling many times against Fulham. I can see this one being a draw, a 1-1 draw between the two clubs. Manchester United's team does not look like it's firing. I don't think their midfield is strong enough. They still need a number 6. They need a striker as far as I'm concerned, because that Rasmus Højlund, even though he sorted out his pizza face, is injured. And who have they got as backup? They're going to play Rashford in there? Who knows? I think Man U will struggle this season. And I'm going, as I said, 1-1 for this one. What do you guys think? Alright, the second fixture of the weekend brings us to the new boys, back to the Premier League in Ipswich Town, and they will host one of my favourites for the title, Liverpool. Now, Liverpool haven't brought in anyone new. They've got the new manager in slot. How's he going to compare under, the lights and the shadow that Klopp has left beforehand? And I think he's going to do really well. I think this team is well knitted. Obviously, Zubi rejected them. Doesn't want to go up to the northwest. Well, even though they said he was coming. But anyway, that's a whole different story. But Ipswich have made some signings under the radar, and they've actually spent quite big. And not many people are talking about it. Rory Delap's kids come in. They've got Hutchinson from Chelsea. And they've got Muric, the goalkeeper, who I don't think that's that great and is an ex-Forest player, but he's come in as well. I don't think we're going to see the fairy tale story when it comes to Ipswich this season. And I think Liverpool will have too much for them. And I can see this one being 3-1 to Liverpool. What do you guys think? Alright, so let's move on to the next match, and that is Arsenal hosting Wolves. And Wolves have lost a couple of key players. Kilman going to West Ham for, I believe, about £45 million. And Neto, one of the players I highly rate, he's gone as well to Chelsea. And Arsenal haven't done much business. They've only brought in the Italian centre-back / left-back. And that's been their business. And they've been solid for me defensively last year. I still feel they need a number 9. However, Wolves seem to be favourites for a lot of people to be in a relegation fight this season. I'm not sure. I'll wait and reserve judgment on them. But I think Arsenal will have too much for them. And I think this one will be 2-0 to Arsenal. Get your thoughts in down below. So the new Brighton manager, Fabian Husler, will take his team to Goodison Park. And this is going to be an interesting match. Brighton losing Gross, who I highly rate, but he was getting on a bit, and have brought in a few players. But it's all going to be eyes on the manager, and can he cut it at that young age in the Premier League? Sean Dyche, on the other hand, a seasoned pro, always survives relegation. Still, a lot of people are tipping Everton to go down. And I think this is going to be one of those slugfest matches that probably ends up in a low-scoring draw. I'm putting this one down as 1 apiece. And I don't think it's going to be a very exciting football match either. Both these teams could struggle, but it is early days to predict that yet. What do you guys think? Where do you think Everton will finish this season? Let me know down below. Alright, next matchup is Newcastle versus freshly promoted Southampton, who have been busy in the transfer market. Again, that's gone under the radar, bringing the likes of Brereton Diaz in there. Che Adams has left, and Kyle Walker-Peters is set to go apparently as well this transfer window. but he's still there. In terms of Newcastle, they've been battling PSR all summer, and they've brought in Vlachodimos from Nottingham Forest and one or two others as well, strengthening their defensive lineup with the likes of Kelly from Bournemouth. I think Newcastle will have a good season. They were heavily hit by injuries last year, and Eddie Howe is a top-notch manager. I can't see Southampton going away. That's a long trip, by the way. Southampton to Newcastle, I can't see them coming back with anything but a bus fare ticket back home. So I'm giving this one to Newcastle, and I'm going to put it down as 3-1. All right, let's move on to the main event of the weekend, and that is, of course, the famous Nottingham Forest taking on Bournemouth at the world-famous City Ground. And Forest and Bournemouth have history. Forest haven't beat Bournemouth in donkey's years. They've turned into a bit of a bogey team for Forest. But with losing Solanke, they've lost their firepower, and this is probably Forest's best chance to get one over this bogey team. And Forest are putting together a decent squad at the moment. And I could see this one finally turning Forest's way. No bias whatsoever on this one. And I'm going to predict Forest win this one by 2-1. Come on, Forest. Okay, so let's move on to an interesting match here, which is West Ham against Aston Villa. Lopetegui coming in for West Ham, and he's been spending big. Let me shout you out some of the signings he's made. We've already said about Kilman from Wolves. They spent about £40 million on him. Somerville from Leeds. Fulkrug as well. Fulkrug? Don't know how you pronounce it. But the striker there, he's come in. And on it goes. Wan-Bissaka coming in. Rodrigo. They've built a team together. And it's looking promising. I think the West Ham fans are getting excited about the prospect of the season coming up. But Villa, who now have qualified for the Champions League, they too have splashed the cash a little, bringing in Onana from Everton for about £55 million. Maatsen, a highly rated, in my opinion, wing-back from Chelsea, he's made the move as well. And Archer's come back from Sheffield United because there's a weird loan deal there. So which way is this one going to go? I don't know is the honest answer. This one's going to be an interesting match. I can see both teams trying to attack and going for the win. Villa playing with that high line as they always do under Emery. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. I'm going to call a high scoring draw at 2 apiece. But I'm not sure. On this one. What do you guys think? So this could be potentially one of the most boring fixtures of the weekend, as it is Brentford versus Crystal Palace. I've got Brentford to go down this year. Now, they haven't lost Ivan Toney. They've brought in the youngster from Liverpool, Carvajal, who is quality in my opinion, but is he gonna flourish in a Brentford team? Now, their main signing, the striker that was meant to replace Toney, he's out injured. So Toney will have to play while they've still got him. However, Palace have lost the likes of Elise. There's talk that Gueye is on his way to Newcastle, so maybe his head is turned. But they still have Eze in that team. And for me, Glasner has been a revelation and a sensation towards the back end of last year, guiding Palace away from the relegation fight and up to 10th. I can see that trend continuing in this match, and I expect Palace to get a comfortable 2-0 win away to Brentford. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me or not? Okay, some would say this is the highlight game of the weekend, as Chelsea will host Man City on the opening weekend of the Premier League. Now, Chelsea have been going to town yet again. Todd Boehly, in his reign at Chelsea so far, has spent more than over half the Premier League have in their entire history. It's absolutely crazy the money they have spent. They've extended the likes of Cole Palmer's contract to 9 years. There's talks they're doing it with Jackson, as well. The money is just being shipped out. How many more hotels have Chelsea got that they can sell to themselves is the question. And on the other side of the PSR fence is the 115 themselves, Man City, who have just lost Alvarez to Atletico Madrid, but still have that core team of corrupt players, corrupt team that they've put together. Now, I fancy Chelsea to do quite well this year, especially with Nkunku up front or in the attack. And with Neto coming in from Wolves, if he can stay fit, what a prospect he is. I've got this one down as a 2-2 draw. I think Chelsea may take the lead. Man City will come back and go 2-1 up. And then a Leighton Cuckoo goal, or we'll share the spoils. Don't know. Imagine that happens now. And then the final game of the weekend on the Monday Night Football will be Leicester versus Spurs. Two teams that I have not much time for. Leicester with Forest ex-manager Steve Cooper coming back into the Premier League after having an appalling pre-season by anyone's standards. And Spurs buying Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth and Gray from Leeds United as well. Will he come up with a plan B, or will we see Postecoglou still stick to this gun-ho approach? Come hell or high water, come whatever the scoreline is, thou must score more goals. Spurs fans are getting frustrated by it, but as a neutral, I find it quite entertaining to watch. Leicester for me have absolutely no chance in this game. Their best hope is to low block their way to a draw and maybe nick a goal on a counter attack, because they will have half the pitch to play with because of the high line that Postecoglou will put down. I think this one ends up 2 or 3-0 to Spurs. I'm going to go 2-0 to Tottenham. What do you guys think? And that's your fixture list for the weekend. Let's see how many I get right and how many I get exactly right with the scoreline. Looking forward to seeing your predictions down below. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the Footy Network if you are new. And we'll see you on the next video. Have a good day.